Okay, another episode of the ISB podcast. I'm your host, Sahil, here with Rahi. Rahi, where have you been? Where have you been, firstly, quickly, as we get on to another exciting topic of the day? Of course, we're not talking Spanish football, but I just kind of gave it away. But go ahead. Where have you been?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be in Madrid, gorgeous city. It's been a while since I've been here. And then I've been now in the north, Bilbao, San Sebastian, beautiful, beautiful areas by the water. The weather's incredible. The food, the culture. Let me tell you, it's been a great week. I've been watching. I've been seeing what y'all have been doing, and I'm excited to be back. But let me tell you, the food here is incredible. And I think we're talking maybe about some players who are from a country where the food is similarly good.
Yeah, we're talking about two countries, actually. We're talking about two countries that both don't happen to be the country that you're in. So right
Okay.
now, and of
Well,
course,
naturally, yeah.
we're going a little bit to the north with Scotland and a
Okay.
little bit to the east with Japan, because it's a conglomeration of both. Because let's start off just talking about Celtic in general. Celtic is on a tear right now, Rahi. He is on a tear.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, this team back in the Champions League, the new format is in their favor, but they look incredible. They're tearing it up in the league. And now with this huge victory in the Champions League, 5-1 to start things off, they can really make some noise. And they're just so fun to watch. So
Yeah,
attacking.
another fascinating game against Falkirk this weekend as well, coming from behind to win that match. But a lot of this is down to a little trio from a different country, of course, the country of Japan, who we have been fascinated with for a while. And I, of course, have traveled to. But there's these three players right now, Celtic trio, that have just been on a tear as well.
Incredible. They're so good. They're so fun to watch. I mean, that's Kyogo, that's Maeda, that's Hatate. They look like they've really settled into Celtic. They're brought over by Big Ange, of course. But this is a team that's fun to watch, and they're fun to watch because of this Japanese trio. And can you remember a time when we've had a team like this that's basically driven by a Japanese contingent? I can't think of a club team like this on the international stage.
It was very interesting because one of their goals was literally made in Japan in the Champions League. It was literally a combination of all three of those players, and it's a fascinating trend. I mean, I think we've seen Celtic have some top level Japanese players prior, but for the first time, we're seeing a club, and this is just it just talks about the rise of Japanese football in general, where they're actually driving the club. It's not a small feat.
Yeah, not just any club, right? The club in Scotland in recent times, the big club, coached by a big manager, right? Someone used to coach at Liverpool. This is not, and a team that's in the Champions League has a chance to make a noise on the pan-European stage. This is no ordinary Scottish club, right? Celtic
Yeah.
has history.
And the thing is, this is the best Celtic club I think that we've seen for a while. And
Yeah.
actually, so much so that Brendan Rodgers is saying, look, I feel like this club is poised to make a run right now in the Champions League.
Yeah, remember when you and I earlier in our youth, we'd watch some Celtic teams that were very good competing in Europe at a high level, right? And it's been a
Yeah.
while since we've seen that, since
Yeah.
we've seen a Scottish team make big noise on in the Champions League or in the UEFA Cup, either one. And now we have a team that legitimately can do some damage.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest key in all of this is, okay, they always win the league, right? That seems to be almost a staple, right? So that part of it is not the surprising part right now. The part of it is just how much of a statement match they came out with in their first Champions League match,
Yeah,
because that we haven't seen from Scotland in a very long time.
exactly. We've seen sort of defend. I mean, granted, they had an easy opponent, an easier opponent that they will have the rest of this tournament. There's no doubt about that. But to be on the front foot so much, to attack so much, that we haven't seen from a Scottish team in a while. Haven't seen from Celtic in a while, right? At this stage, normally they're defending for their lives because they are the inferior team. Now you don't feel that in many of these games that they'll play, they'll be level, or if not the favorite against the best in Europe, but against some teams, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Japanese contingent, the trio of them, because they all bring something a little bit different to the table, right? So you have Daizen Maeda, who's been praised by the coach across the board, saying like this player is a player who presses like no other that he's ever
Yeah.
seen before. and the other two bring their own special characteristics.
Absolutely, absolutely. They really do. Maeda's a player I think whose engine is nonstop. Kyogo, a guy very technically gifted, right, as well, and is a player that brings that element to the game as well. Hatate, another player, very, very hardworking, great passer. So I think that you're looking at they complement each other, but they all bring that very Japanese characteristic now, which is a motor that just does not stop. And that describes this Celtic team as a whole, which is that they do not stop once they get going.
Yeah. I mean, I think what does it say? And now, just sort of extrapolating out, we just had a video where we talked about Japanese football and sort of the rise of Japanese football. I mean, this is what does it say that basically, you basically have you talked about the engine in general Japanese player, but this is the engine of Celtic, right? The fact that these players are running the engine of Celtic. I mean, that says a lot, right?
It says a lot. Clearly, there's a belief in what these players can do. It started at Celtic. It started because Ange Postecoglou, the current manager of Tottenham, when he was at Celtic, he brought over Japanese players because he coached in the J League, so he knows how good those players are. He brought them over, and now you're seeing across teams that Japanese players are being trusted.
Yeah.
And then the next step is they're being trusted at the biggest club in Scotland. And then the next step is going to be, are they being trusted for a Scottish team that is also competing at a high level in the Champions League? That's the next stage, right? Then you're talking about a respect for Japanese players that would be unprecedented. Already it's unprecedented, right, in Scotland. Like, when have we seen this? Not in my lifetime.
No, it definitely feels like something new. And then to go in, I just want to talk about this regardless. I know it's Slovan Bratislava, but Slovan Bratislava is no slump overall if you think about the overarching concept of what's out there, right? Like this is to beat a team 5-1 in the Champions League. It's not an easy feat.
No, it's not an easy feat. I mean, look, let's not get too excited yet because there's a lot tougher opponents to come and they're going to play against a lot better teams. But it's a good sign. It's a good start. It's a good sign because look at what some other teams did, right? Borussia Dortmund, the first one against Bruges, right? You might say they should have dominated that game and they didn't, right? That's the finalists from last year. They were lucky to win that game. So regardless of how easy an opponent is, the way when you dominate them the way Celtic did, it bodes well for I think how you're going to compete later on in the competition. I think there's no doubt about that.
The entire team, I think, is gelling in a way that I haven't seen this team gel before.
100%. 100%. I guess the question then for you is this then the stepping stone, the next stage in the evolution of Japanese players, right? Because now we've seen them in the J League. We've seen individual players make their mark at clubs. We've seen the national team starting to grow, but we haven't seen a team whose entire identity is in many ways defined by their Japanese contingent. And you have to say that about this current Celtic team.
Yeah, I think that 100% this is the evolution of the Japanese player. I think that what we've seen now and exactly what you touched on earlier is that it's almost like I would go beyond trusted. It's almost like we want these Japanese players in the team. They've become some players that we want because that's what's going to take our team forward.
Right. That's what you need in order to get the next level. You need a Japanese player almost to get you to the next level, right?
Yeah.
That's why it'll be so pivotal. I mean, I hope all our Japanese fans out there are watching this team very closely. I know they are because it could mean so much, I think, for the reputation of Japanese players worldwide, for the success of the national team, if this team does well in the Champions League, because it could change the narrative. It's already changing, but it could be that seminal moment, I think, in the way the world perceives Japanese players. I really believe that. And that could happen this very year in the Champions League.
Yeah. And I think one thing we haven't really touched on yet is the style of how these players play and the style of how these Japanese players are playing. I think that is what's so exciting, right? You have a lot of players out there, you get a lot of players from the different countries playing out there, but the nature of how the style of all these players, it's so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that across the board from all the Japanese players that are at whatever club they're at, right? Whether that's in the Premiership, whether that's, in in the Scottish Premiership, whether it's in the players that are out there. It's always the
League
case.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's pivotal because I think what you're talking about is identity and a developing identity of the Japanese player, right? Which is a one that is they've always had a relentless engine and a relentless motor, but now you're seeing a reputation which is they are attacking players. They are technically gifted. They will go forward and they'll go forward in a very direct way. And that's new. I mean, because when you think about other national teams and reputations of players, right? The Croatians have always been known for the technical ability, the midfield that they possessed, right? The Spanish as well, their passing ability. The Italians, their defensive abilities. Now you have, for the first time over the past few years, a Japanese player identity, right? Which is, and the great thing about this identity is it's an attractive one to watch. It's an attacking one to watch. It's something that people are going to gravitate to. It's not a just hardworking. It's much more than that. So people are going to want to and are wanting to watch Japanese players. Managers are going to want to sign these players.
Yeah.
Clubs are going to want to have them on their teams because not only are they changing the success of clubs, but they're changing the entertainment value, right? I mean, this is a much more fun Celtic team to watch than the years past.
Yes, 100%. And I think, we for one, we've always loved watching the Japanese team, but I think even more so now, and that's the thing, even for neutral fans or fans who have their country that they support, once that country gets out, maybe they'll be like, okay, let's go support Japan because of the way they play. So
right. And if you look at the World Cup, the Japanese national teams, those games are always exciting, right? I mean, even the games they've lost in the past two tournaments, the 2 round of 16 games they've lost, great games. I mean,
100%.
Japan-Belgium was one of the best games of that tournament. Japan-Croatia, another great game. Yeah. Japan hasn't been on the right side of it, but they've been fun to watch.
They'll get there at some point. And now it's made Celtic a very fun team to watch, and I have enjoyed watching them so far. I know Rahi has as well. For all you Japanese fans, let us know your thoughts on this trio in Celtic. And all you Celtic fans, let us know what you think that this Japanese contingent has made for your team. Rahi, any parting thoughts as we finish off this particular episode?
Also, great jerseys. Green and white stripes, always the classic. I'm wondering how many Japanese fans on this how many of you have already purchased your Celtic jerseys? I bet many of you already have them.
Yeah. If not, get on it because they're going to be selling out fast as they continue this run in the Champions League. For those of you enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. All right, boys, and girls, we'll see you later next time. Keep watching the beautiful game.
Samurai Blue is now Samurai Green.